Hey y'all, and welcome to Real Talk. Today, we're at Rally Point Grille. We're gonna head in and talk to Ralph and Carrie about their time in the Marine Corps and how they started this whole place. I'm excited. Come on.
Hey.
Hey.
How are you?
Ralph, I'm Cameron.
Cameron? Pleasure to meet you. My wife, Carrie.
Carrie, it's great to meet you. Thank you so much for your service.
Thanks for coming.
Man, what a place. Oh my God. I've been to Woodstock 1,000 times, and I don't think I've ever been to the one place I was probably always supposed to go first. I'm already kind of taken back by the number of things that I see, so I am just going to take your lead.
Okay.
So please tell me everything. I want to know everything about this place.
The one you're looking at right now, that's actually my grandfather, who served in World War I in the Coast Guard.
Yeah.
So not only World War I, but the Coast Guard also, which is so, small.
Very niche.
To begin with. Yeah,
very, very niche.
Very, very niche. And then the three guys up here on the top, this one right here was my dad. He was in the Army.
Oh, wow.
Right, this is my uncle.
Where is
cousin. Fort Devon, maybe?
I was going to say drum.
Nah, drum doesn't ring a bell to me.
Wow.
That's our missing heroes table. And a number of restaurants display that, but a lot of them only do it around Memorial Day or Veterans Day. But in our opinion, I mean, it's a fact. They're missing 365 days a year. Right. So we leave that table there all year long.
I love that. As I told you that when I walked in, this was the first thing I noticed. And I think anybody that comes in here that understands what Rally Point means,
right,
that means a lot to them too.
It's the most honored table in the building.
Thank you for that. I love that so much. Do you have is there themes to each portion? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll let you go.
This kind of our celebrity wall right here, some of the celebrities that come in. This gentleman here, I don't know, did you watch American Sniper?
Of course.
That's a scene from the movie when they come into the tent to check on one of their buddies. And I put these two pictures side by side because this gentleman, Kevin Lacey, who is actually a Navy SEAL,
right?
That's him and his wife at our restaurant.
I love that.
When we were across the street.
How cool is that?
So,
that's John Taffer, too.
Yeah, John Taffer. You got the opportunity to meet him in Vegas. This is kind of my World War II era corner right here. As a matter of fact, I've got another picture to put up this afternoon that was donated. But
how often do you get those in?
Every week.
Every week?
Yeah, we're always closed on Mondays, so Monday's my day of hanging up pictures.
When you really start looking, it's shocking the stuff that people have donated to us.
Yeah. It's pretty.
These dioramas
really
down here are from the early 1800s.
Oh my God.
1900s. Early 1900s. I can't even imagine what they would be worth. And people just donated it because they know that they can come here and it's going to be appreciated.
Should get a certificate. This is a museum. Yeah, I gotta get somebody to bring a Marine Corps and a Coast Guard, and we'll have it all wrapped up.
Yeah, there you go.
You can have your own parade then.
Yeah, totally.
Well, then you need a Space Force though too.
Yeah, we gotta have Space Force.
Yeah.
Yes, we do have them right over here.
Get out of here!
That was just beautiful, wasn't it?
How often does that? How often do you get someone in from Space Force?
We've had 3 people in here that are in Space Force.
No way.
And one of them was actually good for his word and bought me some pictures. And he bought me in those 3 pictures right there.
No
some
way.
Of the patches he bought in. And he makes these on his 3D printer. He makes these satellites.
How cool is that?
And so he bought us in a couple of those.
You get a fun space corner.
Yeah.
Yes. World War I American flag. That's why it's behind plexiglass, because it's very fragile. But if you notice, it's only got 48 stars. Right. Every Friday for the last 10 years now, there's a group of guys that are all Vietnam vets of all different branches. And now there can be anywhere from 8 to 22 of them here every Friday. And they sit right here. They utilize the round table, and we push these 2 tables up against it. They started coming in 2 months after we opened, and there was always anywhere from 3 to 5 of them. So we always set them at the round table because we knew we could fit them all right there. So we always reserved that table for them. And after 4 months of them coming in every Friday, I started nicknaming them the Knights of the Round Table.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
The need is real, and not that Ralph and I are trained, nor like our daughter Sam, she's our bar manager now. Not that she's trained either, but we have learned how to help a veteran when they come in and talk them off the ledge.
My gosh.
At one point, we used to say we can count on our fingers the number of veterans. We can't count on our fingers anymore, the number of veterans who come in, and we can tell by the way they act and by the way they look in their eye. And we just sit with them and talk with them and redirect them to a new mission, because that's usually what the biggest problem is. The people come out of the military, they're so mission focused and so mission driven for so long.
Just lost.
and they don't know what they're supposed to be doing next.
You guys on the news very much?
We've been on the news a number of times. Paul Milliken from Fox 5, he's been here at least twice. Once he interviewed Charlie, and then he called me one year, I think it was about 5 years ago, 6 years ago maybe, said that Buck Lanford from Fox 5, he does the Burgers with Buck segment on Fox 5. He had been to our restaurant and tried one of our burgers. But anyway, Paul Milliken calls me. He says, hey, I was talking to Buck Lanford. He said, your place is the place I need to be on Veterans Day. He says, so I want to do all 3 of my morning shows at your restaurant on Veterans Day. I said, great. I said, what time you coming? He goes, I'll be there by 7 in the morning. I said, okay, well, I'll be up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning that evening before with the Marine Corps birthday, which is the day before Veterans Day. I said, so you're bringing the coffee. But anyway, so he did all 3 of his morning shows here. One of his segments was based off of one of the best stories this business has ever experienced, which was 2 guys that met up after 50 plus years that were together in Vietnam that hadn't seen each other since. And they were both in on a Friday night for Friday night fish fry. And one recognized the other as wearing a hat with a Vietnam ribbon on it. Immediately went over and said, welcome home, Semper Fi, all that good stuff. One was a Marine vet, the other one was a Navy corpsman. And after they got done eating, they came over, they started talking and comparing notes about Vietnam. Patrick finally gets up and he asks Doc to stand up, and he looks him up and down like this. He goes, you're the Navy corpsman that saved my life.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick took a AK-47 bayonet to the stomach, and if Doc wasn't there, he would have bled out.
You could write a book about this place. Speaking of stories,
yes,
you guys got 1 million of them in here. They're on the walls. They're all over the place. They're in the people that come in. I want to know your story. So if you guys want to sit down a little while, I'd love to know the whole story of how this all came to be.
Yeah.
This is amazing, guys. Thank you. Yeah. Let's get this going. I got a lot of stuff I want to ask you.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
You want to sit right here?
Let's do it. Yeah. Hey. I feel like we've been talking and just kind of going over everything, and I feel like we have to hold the reins back a little bit because y'all can talk. So I found some good ones.
Okay, good.
So I just want to thank you first and foremost for being here and letting us come here and hang out at this amazing place. I guess
our pleasure.
There's so much going on that I just can't. I was telling you, I was overwhelmed, and I have to just kind of take it piece by piece. So first off, thank you guys so much for having me, and thank you for having us in here. So Ralph and Carrie, I don't even know. Normally I go, hey, where are you guys from? This is one of those ones where we've kind of talked about that. So I want to start in a different place. How did the two of you meet?
You picked a great one.
Okay, good.
You did. Okay, I'll take that one.
Yep, you take that one.
Okay, so in '85, the Marine Corps sent me to her hometown on recruiting duty, and up to northern Wisconsin. And so I was there from '85 to '88. And then one day in 1987, these 2 girls come walking into the recruiting office, her being one of them. And she had a girlfriend with her that was just there for moral support. She didn't give a rip about the military. And I just so happened to be out in the hallway, and I pointed at them and I said, you're here to see me, aren't you? And she's like, no. I said, well, then what are you doing here? Like, I'm the only recruiter in the building, right? And she goes, I'm here to see the Navy recruiter. I said, the Navy? Looked back in the Navy's office. I said, Randy's not even here. What time is your appointment? She goes, now. I said, see, he don't care about your future. Come on in here and talk to me.
Well done.
And I just went back in my office, sat behind my desk and waited. And she came walking in. And
Flies with honey.
I spent 45 minutes with her talking about the Marine Corps. And that night I was at her house getting parental consent to join the Marine Corps because she was only 17. And,
no way.
So she was 17. I was 28. She was in my delayed entry program for almost a year. And but anyway, she did her 5 years, and a year after she got out, we got married.
Now, how much different was his story from your perspective?
It's pretty close.
Pretty close.
Yeah, it's pretty close. He's on point.
I like that. So I guess what made you, so we can backtrack all we want, but what made you go looking for a recruiter in the first place, Navy or anything?
So I grew up in a small town. My dad was well known in the small town, and everybody, knew who I was. I needed to get out. I just really wanted to get out. And I had watched my mom and dad pay for my brother's college, and I didn't want them to have to sacrifice like that for me because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'm like, I can go to college, but I don't know what for. So instead of doing that, I thought, well, why don't I go join the military and do 4 years, get the GI Bill, and then be able to put myself through college. By then, surely I'll know what I want to do. And so that was really the crux of it. Is I just wanted out, and I didn't want to go to college.
It's interesting. I have kind of the similar story. Yeah, I think a lot of people that I meet kind of have that, where they don't know what to do. I might as well go try this thing.
Right.
Was yours similar? Because when did you join?
Pretty accurate. I went in 77.
77.
I joined the delayed entry program January 1st of 77, went to boot camp in September. And, but a buddy of mine, I just so happened to be at his house, and the Marine recruiter showed up. And I said, Jeff, what's the Marine guy doing here? He goes, I just want to take a look at what they got. And I said, I didn't know you were thinking about the military. He goes, I'm not really. Long story short, we both decided to go in together on the buddy program. And
wow.
That's how we ended
Did
up.
that work in your favor in boot camp or not, to have a buddy there?
Well, it did. It
Really?
did. Yeah.
I've heard conflicting stories.
Yeah. The buddy system is basically, you go through boot camp together.
Mm-hmm.
But depending on what your job is going to be afterwards, like he went to the West Coast, I went to the East Coast.
Right.
We never saw each other again for the next 4 years, unless we happened to be home at the same time.
No way.
But he was in the infantry, and I was a combat engineer. So,
Okay.
We went to opposite coast.
77, I'd have to say you probably had some drill instructors coming straight off of Vietnam. They were probably pretty rough.
Yes. Yeah. It was still rough. They could still hit you.
Oh yeah.
That kind of thing. But it was challenging, but to me, boot camp was kind of fun.
I can't get people to understand that. No matter what time you went through, what year, the level of aggression that your drill instructors put you through, regardless of the fact, anyone that you normally talk to, that was like, that was the best, worst time of my life. Right?
Yes.
Which is crazy. So y'all had about a 10-year split?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Is that about right?
Yeah.
By the time you went in roughly 86?
88.
88.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I went
Okay.
88.
Yeah, she came in the office at 87, but by the time she went to boot camp, it was 88.
So how long were you in total?
20 years.
20
20 years, 2 weeks.
I did 5.
5.
Mhm.
Gosh,
Intel. They had me for an extra year.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, because
cool.
Intel school's so long, or the language school was so long, 48 weeks. So
What type of like language training would they have to have you go through?
Oh, everything. You had to be fluent in language by the time you were finished. And the language that I was put into from testing was Russian. So in 48 weeks, I learned to become fluent in Russian.
Still got it?
No.
I wouldn't either.
I mean, I could swear at you, but that's it. Because I made sure I kept onto that one.
I would just assume you were in whatever language you were talking to me in, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, good. Okay, so, all right, so 77, 88, we're putting some stuff together here. How long did it take? So y'all were in same duty station when you got married, or were y'all in separate places? And then
I was out.
you were done.
I was done. Mhm.
Okay.
yeah, because we got married in 94, and she was out by then. I still had 3 years left. So 3 years later, we talked about what I was going to do after retirement, and she immediately said sales. I said, sales? I build bridges and blow them up again. What does that have to do with sales? She says, you sold me twice.
Very good point.
So
Apparently you should go into sales too.
Maybe.
Yeah. So that's what I did. Went into sales afterwards, and I guess you could say we're still doing sales.
So married in 94?
Yep.
Families?
Got one daughter.
Mhm.
She's now 26. She'll be 27 in October.
Oh gosh.
So
Where's she at?
I don't know where she's right now, but she works for us here.
At this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned her earlier
Yeah,
today.
she's our bar manager.
She's probably at her house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good deal. I didn't know that. Oh, cool. Awesome. Y'all just got a whole family affair.
Yeah,
There you go.
it's a family business. It has been since day one. She started as a dishwasher
Yeah.
and quickly figured out she didn't like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't take her long
I
to
think
get
we've
out
all
of the
been
dish
there.
pit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's a family affair.
Yeah.
So married in 94. How did y'all stay in contact through all that time? Just
It was interesting because when she left for boot camp a couple months later, I was done with recruiting duty and I went back to Camp Lejeune. And so then she's at school for almost a year. And then from there, she went to Goodfellow Air Force Base in Texas to learn all the top secret stuff about Intel. And when she graduated from that, then she called me and said, "Hey, we got our orders. Guess where I'm coming to?" I said, "Camp Lejeune." She goes, "Yep." So now another year's almost gone by from the time that we, said goodbye. And I didn't have the heart to tell her that I just got orders to Okinawa, Japan. And I was going to be leaving in about 4 months.
Whoops.
And so then I was going to be gone for another year. So we were apart again for a year. And by the time I came back to from Okinawa, it turned out our offices were about 5-minute walk from each other, even though we were in 2 different units. And so we saw each other. We just kind of behaved, because she was a sergeant and I was a master sergeant, and that whole thing going on. So,
Right.
But then when she got out, then we moved on with our future life together.
so married in 94. Big wedding.
Nice size.
Good.
I mean, small town. Remember, small town.
Yeah.
A lot of family was there, so it was nice size.
We went back to her hometown up to northern Wisconsin for the wedding, and it was a great wedding. So
Speaking of northern Wisconsin, we talk about the fact that we are all Packers fans.
Indeed.
We are all Packers fans,
Yes,
right?
we are.
Okay,
Go
we
Pack,
are
go.
all of us. Okay, good. That's a really interesting thing to be from Georgia. I'm live in Georgia, and I don't have a lot of Packers friends.
Right?
So to walk into a bar that's all military, the place that I told you I should have come here
Right.
years ago,
Yep.
and to see Packers stuff flying is pretty cool. So I got my big question is, there's a banner that's hanging up there that is personally signed to you by Bart Starr. What is that story?
That was years ago. We were at a convention and he was the guest speaker, and we couldn't get close to him, which was a little unfortunate, but we knew that he was going to be at this convention. So we brought the flag with us, and we found somebody who could get in front of him, and they took the flag and got it signed for us.
I'll take it.
I'll take it all day long.
Take it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we had it draped over a rail about 30 feet away from the stage. And as soon as he got up to the microphone, he pointed at us and said, "I like your colors." And so as soon as he got done speaking and left the stage, one of the stage hands that we knew came over, grabbed the flag, chased him behind stage, and he signed it for us. It was like, yes,
That's
that was
incredible.
awesome.
It was.
It's such a, in the military, I think people see it more than in a normal civilian life at how small the world is. And how there's so many interests with so many people that you've never come in contact with before in your entire life, but you always have some sort of an interesting common bond.
Right.
When I walked in here, it immediately, took me to a lot of different memories. I told you it was overwhelming. But one of those ones, it's funny enough, and that's why we're talking about it right now, was the fact that you guys were Packers fans, which is like my whole childhood.
Right.
That's all I cared about, because hanging at my house and in my dad's office, he was a football coach, so it was Vince Lombardi. Winning isn't everything; it's the only thing.
That's right.
And I was like, that can't be a good saying. And he was like, yeah, I don't like that either, but we'll try our best.
You said something that was really interesting that I find interesting too, being in this environment where we talk to veterans every day. I think that being veteran and having been in the military, we learned very quickly how to find that commonality.
Find something.
Exactly.
Something to just agree on or talk about or even
Something.
disagree.
Right. I mean, just to be able to quickly rifle through all of the things that you're seeing and observing and find that one thing that you can make a connection with, because we often move from unit to unit and base to base and location to location. You're thrown in with a group of strangers and you're taught you got to bond quickly. Right. And, for like you in Afghanistan, bonding quickly was life and death.
Yeah.
And so we had to get really good at it. So I think that's really unique that you rifled through and found that very quickly.
Yeah.
Of all the things.
What a weird profession I found myself in, talking to people about random things.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Definitely fell in my lap for sure. So I don't know how to lean into it other than just to ask straight out, why Woodstock? How did you wind up here? Is there a story there?
Well, there's a little bit of a story. Is when he retired, we had some friends that were out here and having the conversation about what do we do next with our life. That was before we had our daughter. It was just him and I. And we, honest to God, Cameron, we folded the map in half, the map of the United States. We folded it in half lengthwise. And we said, anywhere down here.
Okay.
Having grown up in Wisconsin, we didn't want to go up and have to shovel, 4 months of winter.
I know that.
Not my kind of fun, not my dream. Even though most of our family was still up there, it's like, yeah, that's not for us. And having friends that were out here in Metro Atlanta area, we came out one weekend and stayed with them for a weekend in Powder Springs. That was 20 some odd years ago when Powder Springs wasn't Powder Springs.
Right.
It was like nothing. But we saw enough to realize that we wanted to come this way.
Okay.
And I think part of that too, and we talk about this a lot with our transition. I think part of the reason why our transition was really easy is because we followed some friends who were military. We followed our tribe. And so we didn't find ourselves on an island, thrust into an environment where it was all just civilians and nobody understood us.
It's a common tale too.
Yeah, we came with friends.
Found a camaraderie, yeah.
Right, we came with friends. And so that really made a difference. And so we settled in Smyrna, then we moved to Ackworth. So we've been kind of up here in this area for a long time. And when this idea came about, the first thing I did was look to see of the Metro Atlanta counties that were within driving reach of us, which one had the highest concentration of veterans. And Cherokee County does.
Mm-hmm.
And this building actually happens to be about 8 miles from our house, max. So it worked out really well to be able to cross the line, be in Cherokee County for just that exact reason. And it's worked out really well.
So not to pull the chicken or the egg on you, but which came first, landing in Cherokee County or the restaurant?
Well, we actually landed in Cobb County.
Okay.
That's where our house is. And then the restaurant came.
Mm-hmm.
We started the restaurant August 9th of 2015. And so we were already settled. We had moved
We've been here
twice, I think.
16, 17 years already. by
Yeah,
then.
yeah. Because
Okay.
I was doing different sales jobs.
That's what I was about to ask.
Yeah.
You gotta catch me from 94 all the way to 2015.
Yeah,
That's an interesting story. So
that's pretty easy. I retired in 97.
okay.
We moved here January 98. And I was working for a temporary staffing agency. She got back into construction, which is what she was doing back in Jacksonville, North Carolina at Camp Lejeune.
In Smyrna?
No,
There's plenty to do.
Well, yeah. I mean, but when we landed in Smyrna, that was where I picked up my first job, was back in construction.
Yeah, but yeah,
Right.
okay.
And so I was working for a construction company there and then in Smyrna area for a while. We had our daughter and I stayed home from work for about 4 years. And then I joined a construction company actually up here in Woodstock. And they were brand new, just getting started. So I was actually the first full-time employee that they hired. I worked for them for 16 years. And the last couple of years I was working for them, I was executive level operations, working on running the company and really just driving the success of it. So that was a 16-year career with them in Woodstock. And we were just inside the Cobb County line, but Woodstock started to become home. It was closer. It was closer than Marietta. It was closer than East Cobb or anything. So we just this is our playground, right? Woodstock. So we started to get to know a lot of people in Woodstock.
It really is a community of people.
Oh, it
Like
is.
every time
It
I come up here, I just meet another person to add to my list. I'm like, man, I can't wait to go back and see that person.
Yeah, it's a great place to do business and to really for us to live. Because like I said, even though we live in Cobb, we come to Woodstock for everything. That's where we go.
Let me ask you this. You've been in construction.
Mm-hmm.
You've been in the Corps.
Mm-hmm.
How much harder was it to be stay at home for 4 years?
I was a little stir crazy.
I was a stay-at-home dad for, I told you my ex, she was in the Air Force. And when we got stationed back in Germany, I had to be at home for a while because my job, there was nothing for me to do there.
Right.
I had to wait for a job to open. So I had to be the stay-at-home dad for a while. And I was like driving myself crazy. And you made it for 4 years.
We did. We made it for 4 years. I think it was really important, to get that solid 4 years in for Samantha before I went back to work. But yeah, it was quickly coming to a point where I had to do something. I felt like I was losing my adult brain.
Oh yeah.
And I think most stay-at-home parents understand what I'm saying. I just was literally losing my adult brain, and I had to do something.
It's a Groundhog Day.
Right.
Every day.
Every
Wake
day.
up, same
Same
TV
thing.
show.
Yep.
Yep.
Check
Same
out Bob
routine.
Barker. Keep
Yep.
on moving.
Yep.
Yeah.
My God. And for you too, I've been on that end too, where I had one that stayed at home as a stay-at-home mom, and I had to rake in I had to work. And being in sales, which I've done, you got to really stay on the grind to be able to hold it down for 4 years too.
Yeah. And during that time, I was doing roofing sales, selling roofs. And that was a pretty profitable job. And so I did that for 10 years. And then from there, I went to a magazine, Full Throttle magazine, motorcycle magazine. Cool. Yeah, I was their sales manager for 6 years, and then from there we opened up the restaurant. So
What an interesting shift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy
Yeah.
journey.
So where was the idea conceived
for this restaurant,
for all of this?
Las Vegas.
What happens in Vegas did not stay in Vegas.
Oh, yeah, they got you.
So-
yeah,
They
it
got
did
you.
not stay.
In November of 2014, I was at a Marine Corps birthday party, and one of the Marines came up to me and asked me if I'd ever been to Vegas. And I said, no, why? And he hands me this business card. He says, well, if you ever get out there, he goes, you need to go to this place. It's like a Marine Corps museum. And it was called the Leatherneck Club of Vegas. And great place. And so 2 months later, we find ourselves in Vegas because she had a construction show to go to. So we went there and made a weekend out of it after her conference was over. And I said, hey, we got to go find this place, that this guy told me about. And it's in Chinatown, right off the strip. So we go over there. Owner came over, gave us a tour of the place and everything. It was like walking into a Marine Corps museum, but theirs was just strictly all Marine Corps stuff. Here we honor all the different branches, but we're like two kids in a candy store, and so we were in there 15 minutes probably, and the good Lord inspired us to do this.
15 minutes.
We looked at each other and went, why not us? How cool would it be if we did something like this back home? With the vast knowledge of the restaurant
I was just
industry.
going to say, why not us? Number one, we have no restaurant experience. Why
Right.
not us? Number two, we probably didn't have any cash. Why not us? Number three, I mean, there's a laundry list of
There's plenty
why,
of why not us.
Oh,
why
yes.
not us?
Okay.
Yeah, but we overcame each and every one of those. And
you're Marines.
well, that was part of
That's
the
it.
that was part of the inspiration.
Yeah.
Improvise, adapt, and overcome. Failure's not an option. All of those things that we're programmed with.
Right, yeah,
Really,
it's like,
they sunk hold, and no, this is what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So there was no running from it.
So that was January of 2015. February, we were pinching ourselves, wondering, do we really think of doing something crazy like that because of our vast knowledge? And then March became, well, how can we do it? In April, we started putting pieces together. We took that building over that we used to be in across the street on June 19th, I think, or 15th. And 2 months later, we opened our doors. So
What
August 9th, we opened our doors.
do you wish you would have done different? Is there anything? Or you think it just rolled well? You think it was all good? It was just all aces.
Well, the business side of me says,
we-
oh yeah, there's a lot of things
Oh,
that
I'm
we
sure.
could have done
Yeah.
different.
Some things had to
But
have
we
been improved upon.
we followed his lead,
Yeah.
and we just listened and went for it.
That's,
So-
I mean, I don't want to be weird, but it's kind of how I wound up doing this.
That's how it works.
Still long enough,
Yeah.
long enough, and it just happens.
That's how it works.
We hired a GM that had 24 years experience,
Oh,
and
the GM's
and-
last name?
yes,
Lombardi.
No.
yes,
Well, that's how it's supposed to. Come on.
Well, exactly, right? So I put the ad out.
We're like, all right, I'm listening.
Yeah, I put the ad out for a general manager, and I screened all of them, and I kept 3 of them. And I had to take their names off the top of the list because he would have looked at Lombardi and said, that's the one right away.
Of course.
We needed to make sure he was really the right one. So I actually printed the resumes and cut their headers off and said, you need to tell me based on what you're reading, which one you think you want. And Lombardi came to the surface. And so then I put the resumes back together and I said, you won't believe what his name is. So, I mean, it was a no-brainer.
I thought it was a joke.
How often has she done that to you?
Not often.
Well, that you know
Too
of.
often. Yeah, right. That's yeah.
Yeah, that's her normal standard MO. She's like, I know how to, I can handle this. Just don't tell him. He's going to choose the right one anyways.
Yeah.
But he was instrumental in everything we're doing today.
No
So
way.
he's the one who got us started for 2.5 years.
So
So
I'd have to ask, with that knowledge, what is your biggest piece of advice for someone that wants to do something like this? Open their own bar, their own restaurant, their own anything.
Just do it.
Well, of course, just jump off the cliff, right?
Just do it.
let's do it.
But what would be your biggest piece of advice? Would it be to find a 24-year veteran of that caliber, or to help guide you through the process, or go in slick?
Absolutely.
I would say if you have no idea what you're doing,
Mhm.
that first hire is the most important hire.
Okay.
To find somebody who knows what they're doing, but also understands that they're getting themselves in a situation where they have to coach and teach and train.
Mhm.
Most of what we know came from him, because while he was running the restaurant, setting up the restaurant and doing things, he was educating us on how to run a restaurant. I came into the program with a lot of business acumen.
Mhm.
And I can tell you after 10 years, 11 years of doing this, that business is business. And it doesn't matter what widget you're building,
Right.
but a lot of it is exactly the same. And once I wrapped my head around to the fact that a lot of it was exactly the same, we just had to pay attention to how we built the widgets. It became a lot different for me. And so today I'll tell you, this is the way I explain it to people. The restaurant business is really squirrely. When I was in construction, we had the systems and the processes down so well that if I knew how many houses we were going to build a year, I could actually tell you how many 2x4s I needed for the entire year.
Okay.
In this restaurant business, I cannot tell you how many hamburger buns I need tomorrow, and they're perishable. 2x4s are not.
That's true.
It's a lot harder business when you look at the parts that go into the widgets. So,
Gotcha.
but the big picture overall was good. So he didn't have to teach us HR. He didn't have to teach us P&L statements. He didn't have to teach us balance sheets. He didn't have to teach us how to pay our bills.
Right.
Didn't have to teach us those things, but he had to teach us the hard skills of food safety and things like that.
Right.
And Ralph comes natural with the natural ability to talk to people. And we made a plan that when we opened this restaurant, that the most important thing we would do is communicate with our customers, be there, touch tables and talk to people and create those relationships. And so he was the master at that. I was very well equipped for the business side of it. And together, the teamwork is what has really made it.
I was going to mention that eventually, the fact that the two of the pairing there,
Right.
because you are very business oriented. Like I can tell that you're just boom, you're on the line. You better have it straight.
Right.
And you are like, hey, what's up, man? Guys, how's it going?
I married up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you definitely knew what you were doing.
But the other thing is too, a piece of advice I will give to married couples that are trying to work together is figure out where your lane is and stay out of his.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And the first year was bumpy because he would cross in my lane and I would cross in his lane, and tempers would flare and we get a little snippy with each other. But when you realize what was going on, now I tell him, like, marketing and finance and all those things, we talk about those things and he has input. It's not like, no, you can't talk about it.
Right.
He has input, but at the end of the day, I make the hard decisions on that. And whatever decision I make is what we go with.
Right.
And sometimes I'll choose, what he had to offer. Sometimes I don't. And on the flip side, there's nothing I can say about dealing with people that he doesn't already do.
Right.
I mean, he just does really well. And then the other thing is we really paid attention to our culture. And what we didn't realize about the restaurant business is how difficult the culture can be in the restaurant business. Typical restaurants don't have owners on site that are working. They don't have owners on site that actually care. And so one of the things that I came with was how to build a really strong culture in a company. And we chose what is common knowledge today, but even 10 years ago was not common knowledge, is that our people come first. If we take care of our people will take care of our customers. And so we've never let go of that, and we take care of our people. And 9 times out of 10, you talk to just about anybody who worked for us, and we hear it too, that they will say, I've never worked in a company like this in the restaurant business, because the owners just aren't as engaged and connected with their people as we choose to be.
I love that.
It's a big difference.
And you get to decide where the pictures go.
Pretty
Killing it.
much.
Well, I'm just messing with you, but on that note too, the thing that I was going to get to was the fact that the two of you are well versed, I assume, in dissemination of responsibility and leaning on people and trusting them to do a great job. Because as I would only guess, I would imagine you would like to have your hands in every single piece of that pie as much as you could. But
Some days, yeah.
it's hard to kind of let go and let other people have have a little bit of that control. Is that something that you kind of had to overcome as well?
Not a whole lot. I mean, once you realize who you have and whether or not you can trust certain individuals, we would teach that on our team, and it's never been really an issue. I mean, if we want to go on vacation, we go. You know, for one, we put it in God's hands and let Him take care of the restaurant. But we've got a team of people that are in place that know what they need to do, and they run it. You know, we choose to be here now. We don't necessarily have to. I've had my managers ask me, Ralph, why do you always insist on opening on Fridays and being the opening manager? I said, because I just like Fridays. A lot of veterans come in for lunch on Fridays. So I open every Friday. You can almost guarantee that I'll be here on a Friday during lunch.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to get into, you talked about culture. And I know that in the restaurant business, or any other type of business for that matter, that's a vital piece of what it is that you're trying to build, is trying to show people not only who you are, but giving them the ability to show you who they are. Right. And I can't imagine the number of stories that this place tells every day. So when you say that you have a culture, I see it. It's on the walls. It's everywhere. The bathroom's pristine, by the way. It's like, I was like, this is my kind of place. This is a military place. It's beautiful. It's amazing. It's well run. It's tip top. So how long did it take you to establish that kind of credibility and bring that? You know, you walked into one in Las Vegas for 15 minutes and you walked out of there and you was like, I got to do one of those. How long did it take you to kind of catch following in a place that is, for all intents and purposes, a very target-rich environment for catching a lot of veterans that want to hang out?
Right.
How did you get that to happen?
Probably took first couple of years to get solid, you know, with it. But as far as the employees go and whatnot, we let the employees know. When we bring on a new person, I don't tell them, hey, welcome to the team. I tell them, welcome to the family. Because that's what we consider ourselves, you know, with that kind of culture. As far as the people, once they realized who we were and what we stood for, it was just a snowball effect. More and more people, you know, started coming in. And a lot of folks, I think we mentioned it earlier, you know, thought, well, if we're not a Marine, we're not allowed in there, you know, but that changed after we changed our name to Rally Point. And because it's more common to everybody, you know, civilians included, you know, they understand it. So that was it.
What were some hurdles? You remember hurdles, things that you had to just kind of overcome to go like, this is not going in the right direction. What happened?
Oh, lack of knowledge. I mean, that was one of our biggest hurdles was lack of knowledge, you know, and the stress of getting up and running with lack of knowledge. I mean, we really were relying on our team at that point. And so I'll tell you, one of the biggest hurdles, honestly, was conversation we had at home even before we got started is really trying to remind ourselves. And I had been in the work industry leading people already, civilians, where he hadn't really been like that because he's been in independent sales. And I kept telling him and reminding him, these people don't respond to orders. Right? So in the military, we're used to giving orders and the job gets done.
Right.
We don't have to think twice about it. I need you to do that. I need you to do that. They don't respond to giving orders like that. And even like with our franchise, that was one of the biggest things I was coaching them because he was an Army major just getting out of the military. I'm like, you got to understand that your new troops, they don't respond to orders. They want to know what they're supposed to do, but they also want to know why. And they want to be told in a way that's not going to hurt their feelings. You know, and I don't say that lightly or sarcastically, but there's a big difference between being in the military and being told what to do and it doesn't hurt your feelings versus somebody in the civilian world who has never been talked to like that. And they don't know how to process that. So that was really one of the biggest things as we continue to grow is just to consistently remind ourselves how to lead people the right way and not put them back into a military mindset where just do this. And even even like when you're in the crunch, or, the tickets are coming in really fast and the kitchen's, struggling or whatever, you can't walk in and be like snapping your fingers and like, go, get this done, to do that, right? You have to work with them.
Right.
Right. And so learning the true leadership skills, that not the military leadership skills, which even today are way different than they were when we were in the military, but to learn true leadership was the only way to really make an impactful culture. And so I remember early on some stresses that came from that, and how we were trying to gel our team and how we were working with them, and some things went sideways and it just didn't work, and understanding the workload. Right. So we were not in the restaurant business. I mean, I worked as a server when I was 16 in a small town for 4 months. I didn't know what I was doing. Right. I still don't know what I'm doing. But understanding what a workload is for a member of the team. What is the workload like for the guy on the line in the kitchen? What is the workload like for a server who has to be front facing and talking to those customers all day? And then they get the customer that comes in with their own emotional baggage, and they're rude and they're crabby. And so getting that right from a business sense and from a culture sense, and really starting to be empathetic to what their job required to make sure that we're taking the best care of them. So sometimes, some servers just are not equipped to be able to run doubles. So which a double is 2 shifts in a day. So it's a full long day. So some servers are not equipped to do that. Some servers are not equipped to run full parties, and understanding each individual and making sure they're placed in the right places, and putting aces in their places. Right. That's basic stuff. But it was suddenly we had 35 people that we were responsible for in an environment where we didn't understand the jobs they were doing. And that was one of the big hurdles for us. We had a lot of fallout from that.
There's got to be a good feeling though, once you've cleared a couple of those hurdles, that you look up and you realize, wow, that went really well. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever remember any moments like that where you were like, we're right where we're supposed to be. We're doing the right thing here.
Almost every day, Cameron. When customers come in and they talk with us and they share their stories and they tell us, it's almost an everyday thing that reminds us that no matter how difficult it can be, it's worth it to come in for another day because of what we're doing for the community and the place we provide for them.
That's exactly where I was going. And we talked about this earlier, the fact that you're still serving.
Mm-hmm.
You're serving tables, but you're serving your country. I know that sounds like it sounds bigger than it is to us, but honestly, the work that you do to provide this space for my brothers and sisters,
right,
our friends, our family, it's like, what is that like? How did you realize, like, one day you looked up and you're like, this is bigger than just a bar?
That was quickly, wasn't it?
Oh yeah,
it was very quick.
Just hearing the stories,
right?
From people. You don't. I guess starting the restaurant, we thought, okay, it's a restaurant. We got to know food, and we got to know this and know that, but all of a sudden it was like, wow, each individual person coming in has their own story, particularly the veterans, and to start learning and hearing those stories. I've had people tell me before, Ralph, you don't have a restaurant, you have a ministry.
Mm-hmm.
And it's become that for sure, because of the amount of people that we've helped, like we spoke of earlier, people that were right on the edge of doing something that is going to affect a lot of lives, and that they're not going to be here anymore. When they're on that edge, these walls are like magic to them. All of a sudden they feel more comfortable. They feel like, wow, there's actually people in this world that care, and we've heard that numerous times. But it probably only took a year
mm-hmm.
for us to realize that oh my gosh, this is more than just burgers and fries.
It's kind of like Field of Dreams, right? If you build it, and he'll come.
They do come.
I feel like like a year in, you were like, I can't get rid of this place. This is my life forever now.
Yeah, we're in.
that when you knew it about a year in, you're like, I can't do anything else.
Well, yeah. I mean, about a year in, we'd collected a number of stories already. And like Ralph said, just talking to the people and just seeing the impact that we did and knowing that was just scratching the surface and that there were more that would come. And people would come on a day trip from Alabama to come to our restaurant because they'd heard about it and they wanted to see. And, we talked about, we do the Marine Corps birthday every year. And it's always on November 10th. And Marines are weird about their birthday. We drop everything and it's a holiday.
I'm not a Marine and I know that birthday.
Yeah, it's a huge
all of
holiday.
my Marine Corps buddies, I send them a happy birthday.
Absolutely. So we can have anywhere from 800 to 1,000 of our closest friends here. And even after the first year, the first year we had no idea what to expect. It was crazy because we had over 350 people in the Little Red building, which the capacity was like 120.
Great.
Oops. It was amazing though. The fire marshal was there. He was sitting at the end. He was sitting at the end of the bar, and I'm like, oh, I'm getting fire marshal's here. We're fine. But it was just crazy. It was overwhelming, and that was. So we opened in August, and that was November, and that was the first big surprise. We had already started hearing some of the stories and things, but when the Marines came out of the woodwork to come celebrate their birthday with us, that really was impactful because we were so underprepared. We thought maybe 50, 60 would show up or something, and 350 showed up. We were totally overwhelmed with that and unprepared and personally overwhelmed, not just the business, but just personally overwhelmed with the number of people that came. And from there, it just skyrocketed. Once we had all of our Marine buddies come, like I knew, but I mean, the chief of police, he was a Marine, and so everybody came. And once everybody came to that is when things really just blew up for us and people started coming more and faster because the word started spreading.
That's one of those ones where you finally lay down at night and you go, what was that?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
What just happened?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think we do that every year though too now, don't we?
But the Marine Corps birthday, it's the only day of the year that I stay open until midnight. And so by the time we get out of here, once everything's cleaned up and everything, it's between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, then the next day is Veterans Day.
Yeah.
And we just keep right on rolling. And,
just keep the party going.
Those,
It's a 2-day venture.
Those 2 days are the two busiest days for us every year. And, because at least myself, I know she is always here on Veterans Day as well, but I'm usually here like all day on Veterans Day because I want to talk to the veterans,
right?
And wish them all a.
Do you feel like
Veterans
it's continuing to grow for your Veterans Day and Marine Corps birthday?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
It's continuing to grow. So what's the next plan? You got a November coming up here pretty shortly.
November's coming up and it's going to be on Tuesday this year.
Okay.
We were on Monday last year. Yeah. We had the 250th birthday of the Marine Corps last year.
Yep.
It was on a Monday. And it was a good thing it was on a Monday because we always do it on the day of the birthday. We never put it on a Saturday before or anything like that. It's just a real stickler thing that we have. And the thing that really used to irritate me in the Marine Corps too is that we didn't celebrate on the birthday. It always got swept to a weekend. So we kept it on that day. And so 250th birthday on a Monday was really good because Mondays are always slow and we're not open anyway. And so getting everybody to remember that we were open, we had a nice crowd. Tuesday this year, we'll have a better crowd. And as you can imagine, every year as it moves and it goes to Friday and Saturday, that's when we get the biggest crowds. But for us, it's not about the crowds. It's about the people who do come. The right ones come at the right year, at the right time. And so it's not about how many people can we get to come. It's about who's coming this year.
Right.
And those are the important ones.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
You probably getting bigger and bigger people that are coming out too. So
yeah, I mean, we see there's a couple of them that come out that I know for a fact they've got to be in professional basketball.
Oh,
yeah, they're easy to spot.
yeah.
they're easy to spot. We do have local celebrities that come and things like that, and nothing huge. And if there is anybody here that's huge, is they're not announcing themselves because they want to be part of the crowd.
Exactly.
And I get that. I mean,
I was about to ask that. Yeah.
It's a Marine birthday. I just want to come and I want to be a Marine. I don't want to be whatever it is that other label. So, a lot of times we don't even know who's here.
Speaking of being a Marine, from a pride point, the ability to throw something like that every year for your family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, I only want to stretch back to the fact that what that means to you personally. Yes, it's great for the business. Yes, it's great to have the camaraderie. But what would you have given to have something like this?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When you were inevitably struggling with some things, because no matter how long your tenure was in,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We all have some interesting stories.
Yeah.
So I guess there's no smooth way to go about it, but what are some of the things that you took from your time in the Corps that really motivated you to have something like this?
Pretty much the camaraderie
Mm-hmm.
that
You think so?
that you have in the Marine Corps, and I'm sure you have the same thing in the Army. But we're from recruit training all the way through your career. All you're ever taught and talked about and live is the camaraderie and that fellowship. One Marine takes care of another, and vice versa. It's just a really, really tight family, and so that carried on even after we were both out of the military, and that's one of the reasons why we joined the Woodstock Marine Corps League. A buddy of mine asked me once. He says, "Ralph, what's the biggest thing you miss about being in the Marine Corps?" I said, "The camaraderie." So I miss being around other Marines. He said, "You ought to join the Marine Corps League." And at that time, I didn't even know what that was. And he told me, he invited me to a meeting, and that was it. I mean, once a month, all these Marines would get together, and they're a great organization. So that helped us continue on with the camaraderie and the being around, other Marines. As far as the restaurant goes, it became very easy, because they're always coming in here.
Probably fell right in line. Yeah.
Yeah. But even guys from other branches, it wasn't just a Marine thing. For me to hang out with another Army guy or a Navy guy, it's just that veteran then camaraderie. There's 5 of us sitting at the bar one night, and all of us were different branches. Well, there's 2 of us that were Marines, but we're cutting up with each other, and whatnot, and teasing with each other. And I said, it's cool that we can do that amongst ourselves, but for somebody else, don't ever come mess with any one of us.
Yeah, I was about to say that's one of those deals where it's like we can mess with each other. Don't you come in here?
Right.
Don't you come in here messing things up?
Don't you come in between us here?
Yeah, Cameron, the Marine Corps birthday for me is really important. There's not a lot of women Marines. And at the Marine Corps birthday, a couple of them come out and we get a chance to connect with each other. But more than that, we talk about how it's difficult to transition from the military into the civilian world. And, you can say you're a Marine, obviously, right? You can say you were in the Army, obviously, not a big deal. But if I say that I was a Marine, even if I say that I'm a veteran, first of all, you get a raised eyebrow because the world is still weird when it comes to understanding that women can be veterans. I don't know why that perpetuates, but it still does. But having all of the Marines here, 90% of them have been through the military, been through the Marine Corps with women Marines. And so these are my brothers too. And there's a level of acceptance that's different than out in the civilian world because I don't have to explain myself. I don't have to prove myself. They know. I mean, if you watch me walk around, most people will be like, yeah, you were in the military. I'm like, yeah, I was a Marine. Because they can tell because I still carry myself that way. But the Marine Corps birthday has become so special to me because it's that one day where I know that everybody there doesn't question anything about my military service, whether or not I was a veteran, and they automatically accept me and appreciate me as a veteran. And it's weird to say that, but there are other organizations that are out there that still have this stigma against women in the military. And it exists and it's hard to fight, but we don't have that here. And it becomes really important for me and for the rest of the women veterans that actually come out. And celebrating all the veterans is really important for us. And so one year we did an Army birthday. And they had a decent showing, but obviously nothing like what the Marines do. And that's where the birth of the veteran block party came from. So instead of, we used to celebrate like with cake for the Air Force birthday and the Army birthday and the Navy birthday, and then 2 to 10 people would show up. And we finally decided after we did the Army birthday and everybody was thrilled about it, they loved it. We thought, well, why not just do something that's all veterans and let's celebrate all veterans together. Yeah. So we dropped the individual ceremonies and the individual little birthday parties for each one of them. and we put it all together in one for the Veteran Block Party. And that's how the Veteran Block Party came to be.
That's awesome.
So we bring everybody together, and like the cake will have all the flags on it, and we'll survey the audience, who's in the Army, who's in the Navy, all of those, and, celebrate each and every person and each and every branch of service all at one time.
I love that. As you were talking, it struck me a couple things. Number one, you're exactly right. The way that you carry yourself, I can see how people go 100%. She's a veteran. Do you ever think that this is something that kind of just struck me? Is there ever a time when you say that there's no expectations and there's nothing that you need to prove to people? Do you ever feel like people almost judge you, or they're a bit harsh in their stance on you from being for all intents and purposes a female Marine? That is a high mark.
I think I'm hard on myself.
You think so?
Yeah.
Why?
I hold the standard. There's a standard that's set being a Marine. And there's a mental standard, there's an emotional standard, there's a physical standard, but life has its way of doing things, but I still hold myself to a certain standard, a certain level of discipline, a certain level of motivation. I don't know that I get treated different in that aspect. But I've been in enough places where I've gotten the snake eye or the side eye, where it's like veterans, and I walk in and I happen to be the only female veteran, and I get the snake eye, and that's just not cool. And I've actually put myself in a position now where there's only one place I'm willing to fight that, which is really kind of funny, and it's just a weird thing. But I'm just not willing to fight for that position anymore. I don't think I should have to. I think that in the world, in the United States and in the world in general, the world is wrong in not recognizing women as veterans. The world is wrong in treating them as second, but it's still happening. It's not my fight. I'm not going to take up that fight right now. My fight is in here and taking care of all of the people that come in here. But there is one location, and I will tell you, and I won't name it because you probably have to block it out. There's a certain store up the street that has veteran-only parking. Honest to God. My mentality in that veteran-owned parking is I park in that veteran-owned parking and I get out looking for a fight. It's the only place, and I don't know what it is. I think it's just
I do it every time too. Look at me.
right? It's the only place I do, but I get out of the car and I shut the door and I'm looking for a fight because I'm looking for that. No offense, guys, but I'm looking for that old guy comes walking by that wants to be snarky and say something to me, and God help you if it's you, because I've been waiting. I've been waiting. You know what I mean? And I don't know why it is. It's just one of these. Maybe it's my survival tick. I don't know. It's something.
The funny part about that is, I don't know how to kind of phrase it, but when you show up to something and you are a veteran, people may assume that you're a spouse
all the time
at the far end, and at the other end they assume, well, she probably just had some whatever job or whatever. Then they ask you, what do you do? And then you tell them. I was Marine Corps intelligence, and then they were probably like, "Wait, what?" Yeah, you get that a lot.
I do. Yeah, I get it a lot more, particularly when Ralph starts the story, and he'll talk about the gold jump wings. So when I was in, we were scheduled to go to Desert Shield, Desert Storm, the whole 9 yards. We did the call home, we did the power of attorney, we did everything. Pack your stuff, put the rest of it in storage, everything. And we were in formation that morning to get ready to get on the buses, and all our gear was staged and everything. And honest to God, the colonel comes out, he calls everybody to attention, pulls all the women Marines off to the side, tells the men to get on the bus. I was livid for years, because that was uncool. That was 1991, right? That was 1991. And so we were still in that world where women didn't necessarily go to combat. Some of them did. We were starting to break into the ranks. But he left all of us behind. And for years and years and years, I was livid because I trained to be a Marine. I trained to do that same thing. I was accepted in my unit, but then I was left behind. Today, I am not nearly as livid because I have friends who went to Desert Shield and Desert Storm, and their kids are not okay. They're not okay. God was looking out for me, and I dodged a bullet big time by not going to the desert.
I think that's a very positive way to look at it.
Yeah.
But it still has to affect you. It's just primarily because of the type of stories that you hear in a place like this.
Yeah.
You feel sometimes that you maybe shortchanged? I mean, not now because you look at it in a way, like you're supposed to be, but
I do, especially as the years have gone by, and then you've got 20 years of veterans from Afghanistan, right? So at our point in time when we were in, there were more people who had not seen combat than there were who had. And that table has obviously turned now. So yeah, it's a little bit different, but being left behind gave me lots of opportunities. So we were skeleton crew, so we had a lot more responsibilities and things. And we had a recon unit with us. I kind of hesitate saying that, but it was a recon, but it wasn't like 4th Recon or one of the major recon battalions. It was a small unit that was recon for intel. And because of that, we had seats to jump school. Yeah. We had seats to jump school and seer school and all of those sort of things. Right. And in the military, we all know that you have a budget for a year. And if you use the money or you use the seats or whatever the case may be, good job. But if you don't use them, you don't get them next year.
Right.
Well, it came around time to go to jump school and we didn't have enough participants.
Well, that's how it was supposed to go for you then.
Yes, it was, because I went to jump school. So I went to jump school, and I was believe it or not, I was not the only female Marine there. So there were other units that had the same situation. They were sending their females. It was jump school was nutso. I went back like 3 years ago. I couldn't believe it.
Really?
Oh, it was crazy. The only thing I remember about jump school is how much my neck hurt. Because they teach you how to land, they teach you how to fall, but then you have to get up again. You got 13-pound Kevlar helmet on your head. I didn't realize I had all those neck. Oh,
do it again.
Oh, yeah, do it again.
Do it again. Oh, run up that hill.
Yeah. Did you go to jump school?
Come back, yeah. So you know,
yeah. But what was really cool is in the Marine Corps is once you come back from jump school, you have the silver jump wings, which are the same ones issued to you guys. Mm-hmm. And then if you're assigned to a jump billet, you have a position where you're assigned to a jump billet, and then you do a series of jumps that meet these certain qualifications, you get what's called the Navy Marine Corps jump wings. They're gold. And I did. And so I get a lot of flack for that. That's been a hard thing, especially early on after we got out of the Marine Corps. It was really a hard thing that I would get a lot of flack for because people were like, wait, you have gold jump wings? And so what had happened is after I was awarded the gold jump wings, and they did physically pin them on, yes, it was atrocious.
I bet they enjoyed it.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I don't know. But yeah, there were holes and there was blood.
Oh, yeah.
It was bruising and lots. Yeah, it was the whole 9 yards. But you know what? That's the way I wanted to be treated because I was the same. Yeah. Right? You know, pin on the blood stripes too. It was good. And when we get the code of corporal and you get the blood stripe, the Charlie horses are great. So I was in the, sick bay, dental office, something one day. And I was sitting there waiting for my appointment. And there was this senior enlisted, who's probably a gunnery sergeant. The kind that has the coffee cup surgically attached to his hand, a cigarette out of his mouth all the time. Yep. It was one of those kind. And he was all up in my face about wearing gold jump wings, stolen valor. I ended up in front of the CO like 35 minutes later. I got called in, standing tall in front of the CO, and here's the gunny with his coffee cup surgically attached. And the gunny is just going at the colonel about this. And so they looked up the Marine Corps order. And the Marine Corps order at that exact moment in time said assignment of male Marines to jump billets. We had a problem. So they took him.
Okay.
And it was about 4 months later. Mm-hmm. It was about 4 months later, the colonel called me back in the office and he said, I petitioned Marine Corps and they have wiped out the gender in that particular Marine Corps order. It's now gender neutral. And we're going to pin your wings back on for you tomorrow.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, okay. Hang on. So you get told you're not able to deploy.
Right.
You have slots available to go do your job and to become more proficient at your job and to reach levels of your job that your peers can't even reach right now. You go and do that. You come back. You're basically stripped up and down for the fact that you have an accomplishment. Mm-hmm. And then you had to go in front of a commander, and then the commander comes back to you and says, I fought to make this happen for you. Mm-hmm. What a roller coaster.
It was huge. It was a lot. I was 24. It was a lot. You know, I didn't join the Marine Corps to break barriers. I didn't. I joined the Marine Corps.
You're very emotional too. You probably,
I
bet you cussed a little bit.
Some words. There are some words. But you know, I didn't join the Marine Corps to break barriers. Right. That wasn't on my radar. It wasn't my plan to do. It just happened. Today, I'm extremely thankful I had the opportunity to do that because I know there are hundreds of women who came behind me who now can serve in jump billets. I mean, I couldn't be a jump instructor. I couldn't pack parachutes. I couldn't do those things because those were considered that whole non-gender neutral. And today we have parachute riggers And we have jump masters that are women Marines because that happened to me.
Wow.
And because the colonel chose the right direction. Same colonel who said, you're staying here. He didn't deploy with the unit either. I don't know. I don't remember who he said. He probably said the major. I mean, I would have, but same colonel went to bat for me. Same colonel who left us behind was actually the same colonel who went to bat for me to fix that problem.
Well, I think there's a reason.
Evidently.
I think there's a pretty solid. And on the flip of that too, the fact that you did so much, and you talk about not wanting to have tackled any barriers, but you did.
I did. Mm-hmm.
You brought up the wings to me long before she did.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about it off camera, and you were bringing those things up to me. I see that there's such a point of pride in you.
Oh yeah.
The both of you, of course, looking after one another and taking care of each other and going to bat for each other. But
She set the high bar for all other women Marines. She was the first female Marine to earn the gold jump wings. And that article is on our wall over there. But I'm very proud of her. And I won't hesitate for a second to brag about her, So always do.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I would be an interesting point. I wonder too sometimes when your patrons come around and they learn of your story,
Mm-hmm.
do they then come ask you, like, of course you don't need to go to bat for her at any time, and I know how proud of her you are, but is there any time when guys kind of hassle you about your wife being a badass?
No, they're once they hear the story, that's the first thing that comes out of their mouth. Oh
Cool.
my God, she's a
As it should be.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
We got to look out for that.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah, I don't hesitate to brag about her, and because she's worth bragging about. So
To put all this together,
yeah,
this is not the conclusion, but the idea that you guys have gone through all the things you've gone through to get to this point, and I don't know any other way to. This place is a lighthouse.
Yes.
It's a
100%.
It's a beacon.
Yes.
It has a calling to
Yes.
it, and I want to know what do you think your message is to the people that don't know a place like this exists? Because I didn't until today.
Mhm.
And then I come in this place, and the first thing out of my mouth was, "How have I never been here?"
right.
It's home. It's a very. There's an allure to it that pulls you in and makes you just want to be a part of this thing. So people that can't make it to an establishment of this caliber, do you have any advice from all of the people that you have encountered? Do you have any advice for those people out there that don't have a place like this to go to? How to find a community, how to find that camaraderie, how to find the family that you guys have established here? How can they go make that in their own place?
Research the area that they're in.
Yeah.
Look for. Well, face it. Google it.
Google it.
Google veteran establishments,
Really? Oh, yeah.
veteran-owned businesses, veteran hangouts, and get back with your people, to where you feel at home. Because a lot of veterans are out there not feeling at home. They're struggling. They don't know what direction to go to. I get family members in here that say, "Gosh, I wish you would talk to my brother or my sister or whoever," because they want to get back to being around military people. And I tell them, "Come here, come here. There's always somebody here that's got your back, and always somebody here that'll be willing to listen." And sometimes that's all another veteran needs, is somebody to listen. Like our story earlier about Dave. He just wanted somebody to listen to him. We'd have coffee together for about 30 minutes, and I would just listen. I'd let him do all the talking, and he so appreciated that. So, but that's what a lot of veterans are looking for. They're looking for that place to go and be around their tribe.
I would say too, Cameron, advice for somebody that doesn't have something like this, the nonprofit world that serves the veteran community has exploded
Oh, wow, yeah.
since we've opened.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's unbelievable what's out there. And I think veterans don't know what's available to them. And the coolest things that I've seen is I've seen these nonprofits that come up that are really niche. Like, you like downhill skiing? There's a nonprofit that'll take you. Ralph's a fan of the Combat Marine Outdoors, which is a nonprofit that takes combat wounded veterans hunting. There's a group here in town, if you like water skiing, they got a veteran water skiing group, a veteran hiking group, a veteran knitting group, a veteran painting group. Whatever your thing is, today we have veteran nonprofits that will serve you like that. And I think that's really a great way for people to find their tribe and get back together again, is to follow that niche of something they like, or maybe something they want to try for the first time.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed if you use Google and you Google a veteran nonprofit in your area, what they have available now for veterans. It's unbelievable. And it's just expanding. I mean, even if you're in business. So one of the things that we took advantage of over the last 10 years is veteran nonprofits that help business owners. They're out there, but a lot of people don't even know they exist. And so my encouragement is, it don't matter where you are. There is a veteran nonprofit somewhere close that will reach out a hand and say, come by us. There are veteran nonprofits here in the Metro Atlanta area now that are creating safe spaces like this too. They've got a lounge and a TV and coffee and whatever, and just show up and somebody will hang out and talk to you. Yeah. Those are everywhere.
They really are.
They really are. And
understand.
Yeah, you just have to. I think the hard part is, as veterans, we often don't want to ask for help. I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you I don't ask for help for most
I don't
things.
want your help.
Yeah, and
Every day. It's a hard pill to swallow.
yeah,
You do need
right.
it. You want it.
You do. And even something as simple as just finding a way to reconnect. We often won't even ask somebody, hey, do you know somewhere? But if we would ask, it'd be amazing what you'd find. There's just so much out there. I mean,
love that.
Horseback riding.
Yeah.
There's veteran organizations for horseback riding, river rafting, kayaking, swimming in the ocean.
I love the
list goes
idea. I love the idea. Ralph said he missed the camaraderie, so you made one.
Yes.
You went and built a camaraderie.
Yes.
It's incredible.
We absolutely did.
So with all of that in mind, it's of course we can reach out to veterans. We can beg veterans to reach out to each other. We can beg them to just go look for stuff and Google places to find camaraderie. And there's a question I'm trying to find. What would be your message to those people that aren't veterans yet? What would be your, I would want to call it the next generation, but those people that they don't know anything about the Marine Corps. They don't know anything about, the military at all. What would be a piece of advice that you would just give to our younger generation about whether or not they want to serve, whether or not they need to find their place in this world, whether or not they need to find something that they love and find the passion?
We've gotten numerous comments from parents that bring their kids in, and we encourage people to bring their kids in because they don't get taught military history that much in school anymore, but they can see it in this place, and they can feel the honor of being in the military when they come in here and see all these pictures, and then they hear comments from other people of what's going on. Our daughter is a prime example of that. She swore she would never go in the military. She heard too many of our stories, right? After a few years of being here in this environment, she finally came to us one day and said, Mom, Dad, I want to go in the Marine Corps. I was like, what? But it was because of being in this environment and hearing the stories and seeing the reactions from people that even weren't in the military. Just seeing those different reactions, it just instilled in her that there's more in this life that I can do than this, or that. And then she wanted to join. Unfortunately, because of some physical issues, she couldn't. And
I'm pretty sure she's serving right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
I think that's the whole point of all of this is you guys are serving, and I'm doing what I know how to do to continue to serve, and you guys are doing what you know how to do. What a family. And I I just want to thank you for having me. I want to thank you for inviting me into this incredible
Absolutely.
space and having this space
It's been fun.
for my friends and family. So I'm going to give the two of you whatever final words you want.
Well, we appreciate you coming
Yeah.
to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the more word we can get out to people, you know, it not only helps us, but it helps them.
Mm-hmm.
It gives them, when they see this on wherever they're going to see it, and they haven't been here yet, they're going to be like, oh my God, that's my brotherhood right there. I need to go there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to make a big difference in their life when they do. But yeah, what else?
I don't know. I mean, what we do is important. We know that.
Very.
We figured that out. It's some days it's really heavy, which is why we try to remind each other that it's really just burgers and fries, even though we know it's so much more than burgers and fries.
So
but
much.
you know, I think it ties in everything that for every person, no matter if you're veteran, you're military, you're thinking about military or not, what's important is you find what makes your heart sing. And I think this is what makes our heart sing. And this is why we do what we do. This is why, you know, when everything falls apart in the kitchen, we pick up and we go on. This is why when you have to put $15,000 worth of plumbing into a building, you pick up and go on. Because we found something worth doing that makes our heart sing. That's important. And I mean, people always say, you know, find the job that makes you happy because you're going to do it for a really long time. And there's so much truth in that, but this is so much more than that. Because I don't know, you have to have a certain level of commitment and passion, and it really has to make your heart sing to overcome everything that happens in a restaurant. And restaurant workers and restaurant owners, they know what I'm talking about, because every day is a new day and every day something else falls apart. And you got to have a commitment, not just discipline. It's not just desire. It's a commitment that's deeper. And that's, I think for Ralph and I, that's the same commitment we have to our country. This country is still worth fighting for. This has something that's still worth fighting for. And this is also one of the ways that we're doing that, to still fight for our country and what our country stands for. It's big.
Couldn't have said it better.
I can't avoid it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can't just say, well, it's a restaurant. It's just burgers and fries. I know better. It's something bigger than
I don't know. Burgers and fries turn into hugs and cries sometimes.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep that one. Thank you.
Cheers. Put it on a bumper sticker.
I'm going to keep that
Guys,
one.
it's been an absolute honor and a pleasure. And I can't wait to come back.
Great.
You guys
Thank
are open tomorrow, right?
Yes, we're open tomorrow.
Yes, we are. Yes,
Well,
we are.
guys, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, and thank you for your service.
Thank you so much for your service. Thank
Absolutely.
you so much. What an incredible time. Thank you, guys. That's all that I got. And I can't wait to watch this with you guys later.
Right?
Yeah,
Thanks.
too. Awesome.